I'm Tracy from the Untitled Chapter, and today I'm going to show you how to make our lovely 3-zip bag. This one seems to be one of our most popular bags. People love to make this. I think the reason is because we've got plenty of storage. So you've got 3 zips, so you've got 2 pockets on the front here, which is great. I mean, you can of course put those on the inside if you prefer. It's quite nice having them on the outside and decorative. You've got a long shoulder strap, which you can either have across the body or on one side, so you can adjust that length, make it the correct length for yourselves when you're making the bag. It also doesn't take a lot of fabric to make this bag either, which is great. We're making it with heavyweight fabrics, which I always like to do, because then we don't need to have any difficult interfacings going into them or anything like that. We can just use the fabrics as they are. So we've got a main fabric that goes on the outside, and then we've got one lining fabric that goes onto the inside. So you're going to want, say, heavyweight outer fabric, which we're going to make this lovely lotus print. We've got our lining, which is using that bright contrast. You're going to want 3 zips, and then you're going to want your heavyweight strap in as well. You could make the strap in out of the same bag fabric if you wanted to, but I quite like using those heavyweight ones. They're nice to do. So, and we've got 3 10-inch zips. You can always shorten these zips if you need to. So if you've only got zips that are too long, look at our blog at aliceandcat.com. We'll show you how to do that, how to shorten your own zips. So we're going to use the paper pattern to cut out our fabric, so follow the instructions that are on there. For each of the pieces we're going to want 1 main and 1 lining. Apart from the large pieces, we're going to want 2 main and 2 lining, but that's all written on the pattern. So whether you're doing it as a download or PDF, or whether you're working off a USB or a paper pattern, it doesn't matter, you're going to want the same pieces, obviously. I'm going to start with the smaller pockets, so I'm just going to find those 2 pieces. Great. So this is our front pocket, which is the smaller of the rectangles. And the first thing we're going to do is put our zip into place. So our zip's going to go at the top of the pocket. And this is my main fabric. I'm going to lay that one out. I'm going to put the zip face down. So make sure that we've got the head of the zip facing down. And I'm going to open that a bit so that it helps us. We really don't want to be stitching around the zip head because it's a bit bulky and it can make the stitching a bit difficult. So we're going to lay that face down like that. When we come to stitching around that zip head, we'll just move it out of the way. But for the moment, I'm putting it down towards the end. So I'm going to line up the zip face down against that raw edge, and then I'm also going to line up the lining pattern the same way. Just make sure at the top here that all 3 edges are together. So we've got our zip, our main fabric, and our lining, and all those raw edges together. And put some pins to hold it. Like that, just a few. All those edges together. And the last one down the end, like that. Okay. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stitch down here, so that we're going to hold that edge of the zip tape into place. So in order to get nice and close to the edge of the zip, I'm going to put a zipper foot on. So a zipper foot is like this, and basically it's got 2 holes either side, so we can put the needle much closer than we can on a normal needle, on a normal foot rather. So I'm going to put it like this, and we're going to stitch all the way down there. So I want my needle on the closest point I can to the edge of the zip. So just quickly change the zipper foot over. Make sure when you do this that you've got your needle in the centre position. That's where you're going to want for your sewing on here. Get it lined up, drop the needle down, and then we can do a little forwards and backwards stitch at the beginning. So I'm going to go forwards a few stitches and back a few stitches. This locks it in, so that's what you should be doing at the beginning and start of every line of stitching. Now when I get part way down, I'm going to stop, lift the foot of the sewing machine up, make sure the needle stays down, holding that fabric so it won't move, and then I'm going to slide that zip head out of the way. There we go, so that we're not stitching around it, otherwise it could cause a bit of a bump as we're sewing. Okay. Then we're going to open that up. So we'll see that our zip's then done. That's 1 zip in place. Now, in order to hold this back, it's good to give it a press. Don't press the edge of your teeth, so do just press onto the fabric side. And then we're going to run a line of top stitching along here, so it just needs to go close to the edge of those teeth there. Now to do that, I need to switch the zipper foot onto the other side, so it's running close to my zip on that side. I'm not pressing this just for the demonstration, but at home it's a good idea to press that to make sure you get it nice and flat. You may have noticed that again, while stitching, I move the zip head out of the way so that while I'm going along, my stitching won't buckle. So move down. As soon as you get near this zip head, move it out of the way and then carry on stitching down. So that's our first pocket done. That's our small front pocket. Then we're going to repeat exactly the same with our next one. So I'm going to take the main panel and I'm going to take the lining panel as well. Making sure we've got those the right way around, because they could go that way or that way. Let's make sure we've got it the right way, just that way. And I'm going to put the zip face down, just like before, and pin that into place along the top edge. The important thing here is just to make sure that your zip and your fabrics are all together, so the zip is sandwiched in the middle. Okay, I'm going to stitch down. Again, I need to switch my zipper foot back over because I need the needle to run closest to the edge of my zip. If you forgot and went the other side, you can just redo that stitching. You wouldn't even need to unpick it either. I can feel the edge of my zip as I'm stitching to make sure that I'm getting close to it. Open that one up, just like before. That means you've then got your zip into place. There we go. And now I'm going to top stitch down here. So put it over, put your needle onto the other side and stitch down. So you'll see on here that zips really aren't anything to be worried or scared about. With these modern machines, it makes it nice and easy to do those. Yeah. So that is the pocket. The second pocket done. Okay, now we're going to start putting these together. So one's going to go onto here, and then that is all going to go onto the bigger one, like that. Okay, so now we need to mark up where our pockets are going to go. To mark where our pockets are going to go, I'm going to place our main panel here, right side facing up. So this is one of the big panels. We want to mark up 24 centimetres from the bottom for working back. So 24 from there up to there. And I'm just going to mark this with a pin. You could of course do it with a vanishing marker pen if you prefer, or tailor's chalk. If I just put a few pins like this in a line, 24 centimetres up from the bottom. Okay, now our bigger pocket is going to go onto here. So what we do is we flip it that way, okay, and line up the edge of your zip against those pins. So the main of the pocket over that side, and pop some pins in to hold that into place. So I'm pinning through the zip tape onto the main fabric of the large bag panel. Okay. And we're going to stitch that into place. So I'm going to come down here, stitching close to that edge of the zip again, all the way down to the bottom. When we get close to that zip head, just like before, slide it out of the way so it doesn't interfere. So I'm going to need to switch my zipper foot back over again and stitch nice and close to that edge. Forwards and backwards as always at the beginning, stitching down. Take your pocket out, do the zip up, and you'll see that you have your first pocket into place on the main front panel. Now we need to do the same with the second one. This time we want all the fabrics to go to the back apart from the one single front pocket. So everything else needs to go that way. So you've got all your other layers there, just one single layer here. And I'm going to measure up this time 20 centimetres from the bottom. So from the hem here, 20 centimetres, and that's the position for the next pocket. Some pins to mark the place. And there we go. So it's a matter of repeating the same thing again. Now, take our front pocket, lay that into place, and we're going to flip it that way. So now we've got here the edge of the zip tape in line. Also make sure that you've got it in line at the sides here of your bag. Don't cut it like that, obviously, but sometimes when we concentrate on this we can't see the rest, so do it that way. Okay. Once your pins are in place, we can then stitch down just like before. Move the zip head out of the way when you come close to it. So we can open that up, and that's the front of our bag done. Now we want to put the zip along the front. So we've got the first front panel done. Our back panel is plain, so that's good, that's all ready to go. Now we want to put our zip along the top here. So we're just going to grab our last remaining zip, and we're going to lay that, same as before, face down along that top edge, like that. Then I'm going to take one of the lining panels, repeat the same thing, on top, face down, with all those edges together. I'm going to just open that zip up a bit because it does make it a bit easier, I find, but just make sure it's still face down, so head of the zip facing down onto the right side of your fabric. Like that. And of course we're making this bag here all in the same fabric, but you don't have to. If you're scrap busting, if you've got loads of spare bits of fabric left over and you want to try and use those up, you can do that in this bag. You could have it every pocket a different colour. They're quite cute. On one of the samples I held up earlier, we did each of the zips a different colour. So have fun with it, play with it. And if you want, you could make all the pockets go onto the inside of your bag. So that's the zip pinned into place, and I'm going to stitch down close to the edge of the zip. Switching my zipper foot back over to the other side. There you go. Oh no, sorry, it was the right way around. It was the right side. So I always check and make sure it's the right way around for you. There we go. Right. So the zip's now in. We can turn that the right way around. That's our top zip. I'm going to do exactly the same as we did before. Fold the lining back onto itself so the lining fabric is underneath, as it will be when the bag is warm. And then you would press this edge here, and we're going to top stitch along just like we've done on these other two pockets. Right, front pocket done, zip in the top, front panel completed. So I'm now going to start with the back. I'm going to put our other back panel face down, like this. Make sure you've obviously got your prints running the right way if you've got a directional print like this one. And we want the right sides facing, so the right side facing down onto our panel, like that. Then I'm going to flip that one over, and then I can put the lining together, same thing, right side of your line. And if this fabric had a right or wrong side, always make sure you've got the right side facing down. Line up all those ends. We want these all together. I'm going to pin and stitch along the top edge. is worth taking your time just to put these pins in, particularly when there's a zip involved. It can kind of make your fabrics move. We're using a heavyweight canvas fabric here, which is great. Sometimes the needle cords move a bit more as well. I'm going to stitch down there, switch the foot back over to the other side again. Open it back up again to find our bag. Where are we? Here we are. Oop, our zip rather. There, that's the zip there, which is in the middle then. And what we want to do is to top stitch down here. Okay, like we've done on this side, and do the same on the other side. So we're going to top stitch to hold that close to the edge of the zip. Zip is in. 4 zips done. Now we can do the construction of the bag. We've done half of it, and we're now going to do the last other half of putting the two together. So to do that, I'm going to put our main fabrics together. So what I'm doing here is making sure all the right sides are facing of our main fabric, and then on the other end we want just the lining. So you should have just your 2 linings on one end here, like this, 2 linings, and the other end you're going to have all your fabric pieces there, down on that end. Now we're going to pin this in place. We need to leave an opening in the lining, because this is what we're going to use to turn it through later on to bag it out. So when I'm marking up with my pins, I tend to, when we're doing the opening, is to put 2 pins next to each other, just to remind us, and then we know that we're going to start at the double pins, go all the way around, and we're going to stop when we get back to these double pins. So now we want to make sure we've got all our edges together. Work your way around slowly, and here we need to pull out all these layers. You may find you need to give it a bit of a pull, or even a bit of a trim to get those in, depending on how evenly your stitching is. If it's a bit wobbly, probably as mine is here, do not worry too much. It will not show in the overall finished bag. So line them all up together and put a pin at that corner. That's going to hold those all together. So we've got a lot of layers at the bottom because it's going through all the pockets. Up to here, pin by the zip, and pin by the other zip, and flip it around. Before we do this side, I'm actually going to open the zip. It's going to make it a bit easier for us to do it the next stage. So open your zip up on the inside. Carry on now, lining up those raw edges. I'll do the corner first to make sure I get that in nicely. Go all together, put a pin in. I'm going to put one in the middle here too, because there are so many layers. Now, the ends of our zips, we might find that they get in the way here. So if those zip heads are in the way, just pull them down a fraction so that we're not stitching over those. Just want to be careful that you don't pull your zip too much, that it doesn't close properly. So at that point, just make sure you zip two together. It's worth putting one by each of the zip to hold it. And then we've got our main zip here, same thing. I'm going to put the tails of the zip pointing towards the lining. Once it's all pinned into place, I can stitch all the way around the complete bag. So I'm going to start on the lining here, and then I'm going to start here, and I'm going to stitch all the way around the whole bag all the way around the whole thing. So we're going to start here and we're going to stitch all the way down, around and back up, and stop leaving that opening at the top. Don't forget to leave your opening, that's really important because we're going to need that to turn our bag through. I'm going to put a normal sewing machine foot on now for this. And we go back to a normal, go 1 centimetre seam allowance. Do your forwards and backwards. There we go. So we can now take all of the pins out. Make sure that you do have all of them out at this stage, otherwise they will be stuck in the bag and give you a nasty shock when you're going to use it. So take all the pins out. Then we're going to put some little corners on. Now to do that, I want to cross fold these corners here. So put your hand in the middle, in between the 2 layers. Put your hand in, pull those corners out so they form a flat line, and stitch across the top corners. So we're going to pull them out like this, make sure you've got your seams in line, and then we're going to stitch across here. So we're going to come down 1 centimetre from the stitch line and just stitch across. So it's not a big amount that we're doing, but it just gives the bag a little bit of shape at the bottom. Same on the other corner. Pulling the corners out, laying it nice and flat, and then we're going to stitch across 1 centimetre. Do measure it, I'm just kind of guessing it here for the demonstration. Now we need to do the same for the main bag. Now we've got all the pocket layers in here, so we need to make sure that all the pocket is still laying to the right side. So the best way to do that is to put your hand inside the bag when you do this. That way you'll make sure that on the back of the bag you've literally just got that single panel, and on the front you're going to have all those pocket pieces. So that is correct to do it like that. It feels strange because when you fold it like this to create your corner, you're only going to have 1 layer, well, double layer as it is now, on this side, and you're going to have lots more on there, and that's correct. And then the same on the other corner, so just to make sure those pocket pieces aren't caught. If they do get caught, you'll soon see when you turn your bag the right way around. So if that happens, then you can just unpick it. Don't worry, just unpick it and just move those corners. But I can feel here, I've got double here, and I've got loads of layers there with all those pocket pieces. Like that. Okay, now it's the magic piece. We're going to turn over. We can turn this the right way around. So using that hole in the lining, turn your whole bag so that it's facing the right way. It's going to take a little bit of put in, a little bit of push in, and you'll do it like that, and like that. Okay. Now lining, same thing. Put it all the way out. Now we do have the small hole in the bottom of the lining that we need to stitch. Easiest way to do that is to put your fingers in there and pull that out so you've got your seam allowance. Then if you pull that seam straight, that will naturally kind of want to fall into place. So like that, and then press it. I'm just going to finger press it just for ease. And then what we could do is machine stitch along here, really close to that edge. So you just want to do a really tight line of stitching there. You can of course hand sew it if you want to, but all bags that we buy in the shop are always going to be machined, so I just tend to do mine on the machine too. And then we can push our lining back inside so it's into position in the bag. Take off any raw threads that you've got hanging out, and you'll see your beautiful bag is done. The last thing we're going to do now is to add the strap. So we're going to put the strap over the shoulder. Do measure this on yourself. I'm using 1.3, so I'm just grabbing my strap there. I'm using 1.3 meters of strapping, a heavyweight, heavy duty strapping. So this is going to really last, because this kind of bag, it might be one that becomes your everyday bag, so you'll be using it, put it in the washing machine. So heavy duty straps is a great one to use. You could always make it out of fabric too if you want to. We do always stock a range of strappings as well, so they vary from season to season, but do have a look on our website, owlandthesewingcat.com. If you're looking for heavyweight fabrics, you'll see those there. We do regular cotton fabrics too. Occasionally we have kits as well of this bag, and yeah, we do have a variety of strapping. Now, what we want to do is to put the strapping into place on the side of the bag. So I'm going to fold under the end of my strap, I'm going to fold over that raw edge just by 1 centimetre, and then we can pin that into place. So take your bag, pin it into place. I'm putting it just above the zip, and I'm going to pin that through all layers. Okay. Then I need to, what's really important is that I take the strap like this and make sure it doesn't twist at all. Really easy to get a twist in it, which will be uncomfortable to wear. So just make sure you've got it really straight and there is no twist. Then do the same on the other end. So fold raw edge under by 1 centimetre, because we don't want any raw edges to show. And I'm going to line it up again at the top of the zip. I'm putting it half over the seam, so half one side of the seam and half the other. And I'm putting a pin through there. Now I'm going to stitch a rectangle around here. Okay, you can also go diagonally through that as a crisscross if you like. So yeah, a rectangle around, and then you can do your crisscross through it. Depends on the type of strapping and how hard it is to stitch through. So we're going to go all the way around and then a crisscross. That way it's really going to be a nice, strong, secure strap. So I'm going to place that. I'm going to take the front part of the machine off. It makes it a bit easier if we can use this arm, I find. It just gives me that little bit more space when I'm working. Slide that under. So make sure that you've got just the 2 layers, so you'll have your main bag and your lining underneath. Make sure you've got nothing else caught up, and then we're going to stitch all the way around. Trim the loose ends that we've got here. Okay. And you can see there that we then have this crisscross going through. So we've done a nice rectangle and a crisscross. I'm going to repeat exactly the same on the other side of the bag, so we've got the other side of the strap in. So just make sure that your lining is pushed down into place when you're doing this, and then stitch through both layers, the lining and the main bag. Right, so final preparation, final bit of work now, just trimming off all the loose ends. Few more there. Oops, there's a... And your lovely bag will then be finished. Last ends out of the way, just like that. There you go. So that is your lovely bag there. So you can either wear it across the shoulder, across the body rather, or on one shoulder, however you prefer. Say make the strap, you can measure it on yourself and just see what length you like. I will normally stick to like 1.3, I find that is quite good for me, but obviously if you're wearing bigger coats, or if you're skinnier, you're going to want a smaller strap. So that is your lovely bag complete. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you get to make lots more. It's a great one for scrap busting, and I think it's a lovely present. Everyone loves a bag, so do kind of make the most of these patterns and enjoy them.